We really appreciate everyone being here to celebrate the official start to these long-awaited and nationally significant improvements. I would like to thank all of our speakers here today, including Governor Polis, Senator Bennett, Senator Hickenlooper, Congressman Neguse, CDOT Executive Director Shoshana Liu, Margaret Bowes from the I-70 Coalition, and Clear Creek County Commissioner Randy Wheelock. Please welcome Governor Polis.
Thank you, Kurt. Welcome, everybody. This day is finally here. We are so excited to break ground on the Floyd Hill Project, reducing traffic, improving safety for people accessing our mountain communities, eastbound and westbound, and on the exit. Help is on the way. I think almost every Coloradan at some point has been at this choke point going west to our beautiful mountains or east on Highway 70. It affects freight traffic and logistics. These are really important improvements that we're breaking ground on today, and a lot of work to get to this day. I want to thank Senator Bennett, Senator Hickenlooper, and Congressman Neguse. You'll be hearing from them in just a few minutes for the bipartisan federal infrastructure package. This is one of the first, if not the first, project that is breaking ground that is funded by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. Why? Because we're shovel ready, and we are ready to move forward with making this improvement for Coloradans. I want to thank Representative Lisa Cutter for her support of our state bipartisan infrastructure package. Without the state and the federal working together, we simply wouldn't be able to make this project happen. This is a collaborative effort, which is how we get things done in Colorado. I want to thank Commissioner Randy Wheelock, who's here with us as well, for his work for Clear Creek County, and of course our great I-70 Coalition Chair Margaret Bowes and our CDOT Director Shoshana Liu. This isn't just another successful project that'll save people time and money, but it's a critical access point for Coloradans, for tourists, and for national logistics. Highway 70 is the lifeline of Colorado, the great connector across the high country and the mountain corridor. These improvements will reduce traffic, save everybody time, make our roads safer and more resilient to a changing climate, and make it support our tourism economy and jobs. Today I'm thrilled to announce that thanks to hard work, partnership, and bipartisan support, the Highway 70 Floyd Hill Project is fully funded. And we break ground today to revamp I-70 from Floyd Hill all the way to the Veterans Memorial Tunnel, 2 wildlife crossings to reduce traffic collisions and support our wildlife ecosystems, one near Genesee and one near Empire, 2 roundabouts along US 40, one at County Road 65, one at Homestead Road, and of course a parking lot for our Pegasus shuttle van service from the Denver metro area. The Highway 70 Floyd Hill Project will improve travel for millions of people and reduce time and costs. From commuters to residents to tourists to freight to pedestrian to cyclists, making Colorado safer and reducing traffic is really our top priority, Department of Transportation. And that vision is woven into every project in the 10-year plan. And every day we get closer to making those improvements a reality. This project has a critical daily impact on this community and the people who live here as well. And that's why having their voice at the table was so important from day one. We've all been stuck in traffic or had difficulties with our car because of something in the roadway. But with improvements like this one that we're breaking ground on today, we're giving Colorado the roads and highways we deserve. We're fixing the darn roads. Thank you for being here today. Thank you to everyone for being part of this important work. One of our key funding partners in helping to make this happen, the Bipartisan Federal Infrastructure Act. I want to thank Senator Bennett for his work, and I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be with you. I want to thank the Clear Creek County Commissioners. Randy, thank you for being here, and your colleagues, and the Jeffco County Commissioners for your vision and for your leadership. This is not going to be the easiest few years in the world, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to pay off because of what we've done. Governor, thank you for your leadership. I mean, it really is true. We were able, John and I brought Secretary Buttigieg out here with with Congressman Neguse to see Floyd Hill for himself, to see the needs on the West Slope for himself. And because CDOT is so well prepared under Shoshana's extraordinary leadership and your great leadership, you know, we've been able to see projects funded on the western slope of Colorado, Grand Junction, Glenwood Springs, here today at I-70, in Alamosa, in Pueblo, because Colorado really is ready. We know how to build stuff, we know how to get stuff done, and it makes the work easy. Passing the bipartisan infrastructure bill was not easy, and it's something John Hickenlooper was very involved in leading, but to me, I can't drive on I-70 literally without thinking about the people that built it through these mountains in Colorado. Every single time I'm on it, I think about the vision of the people, the imagination of the people that built these bridges and built these tunnels. But what I also think about is how much they cared about the next generation, the generation that was coming after them. They were thinking 100 years into the future. And that's what this is about today. This is the biggest grant that CDOT has ever gotten from the federal government in our history, and it is about our future 100 years from now. You know, after a few decades of, you know, Washington priorities where we were cutting taxes for the wealthiest people in the country and borrowing money to do that, fighting 2 wars in the Middle East that lasted for 20 years, this is what it looks like to invest in America again, and Colorado is benefiting from that all over this state. So I couldn't be more pleased to be here today. I want to thank the I-70 Coalition as well, which I don't think I did, for hanging in there and for your doggedness in getting us to this place. And with that, let me introduce my colleague, John Hickenlooper from the U.S. Senate. He was intensely involved in the negotiations, the bipartisan negotiations that led to what is the biggest investment that we've made in American infrastructure since Dwight Eisenhower was our president. So, John Hickenlooper.
So I did get to sit on the bipartisan infrastructure bill, but I'll tell you a little truth that hasn't really been reported. You know, I go to those meetings, and I sat on the Commerce and Transportation Committee, and so I was involved in transportation, and I'd, you know, kind of push for some of the things I knew we needed in Colorado. And both Democrats and Republicans on the Bipartisan Infrastructure Committee would look at me and go, well, that's a pretty good idea, Hick. What does Michael Bennett think? And so here I was kind of puffing out my chest, feeling a certain level of self-importance. And whether it was Mitt Romney or Susan Collins on the Republican side, or Mark Warner or Chuck Schumer on the Democratic side, you know, Michael is respected on both sides, and this funding and this project, really, the debt goes to Michael, not to me. Now he has to share that with Joe Neguse, because there is no one sharper and more persuasive in Congress than Joe Neguse, and he has to share with Governor Polis, because Governor Polis set this as a priority, that he was going to take I-70 to a new level, and here he is doing it again and again. And Shoshone gets a lot of credit for that as well, as does the I-70 Coalition and that Margaret's representing today. But it is one of those moments where we get to appreciate that as human beings, we talk to each other, we collaborate, and in that collaboration we compromise, and we basically create something that's increasingly better and better and better. And that happens more in America than anywhere else, and it happens more in Colorado than anywhere else in America. So with that, I think I get to introduce one of the most effective congresspeople, if not the most effective congressperson, Joe Neguse. Yeah.
Well, good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. It's wonderful and a privilege to be here today. You know, I grew up in Colorado. I moved to Colorado when I was 6 years old. And I have been traveling on this road, like so many of you, for the last 32 years. I've taken thousands of trips as a kid, as a college student, as a lawyer, as a citizen, and of course, as a congressman. And for as long as I can remember, congestion and traffic on I-70 has been top of mind for every single Coloradan who calls this great state home. What a privilege it is to know that today we are doing a groundbreaking to finally solve this challenge. And I couldn't be more grateful to the leadership of Senator Hickenlooper, Senator Bennett, Governor Polis, the I-70 coalition that has literally been beating the drum for decades after decade to get this done. Shoshana Liu, our wonderful CDOT Executive Director, who I'll introduce in a moment. Our county commissioners, George Marlin, Leslie Dahlkemper, Andy Kerr, our state legislators, the incredible coalition here in Colorado that managed to get this done. It is a truly exciting day. And I want to underscore 2 points that were articulated earlier. First, this doesn't happen by accident. We happen to have 2 United States senators who played an outsized role in shaping what has come to be known as the bipartisan infrastructure law, which was not guaranteed. Senator Hickenlooper, of course, as was mentioned, on the working group, playing a pivotal role negotiating that final agreement, and Senator Bennett delivering for Colorado specific funding for wildfire management, mitigation, resiliency, drought resiliency for the upper Colorado Basin, and of course, here, transportation funding, which is so critically needed by the folks here in Jefferson and Clear Creek and across our state. And then secondly, we, Senator Bennett, Senator Hickenlooper, had the foresight and the vision to invite Secretary Buttigieg out here to Colorado once I don't know that the ink was even dry on the bipartisan infrastructure law, but they got him out here as quickly as they could so that he could see for himself what Floyd Hill was all about and some of the challenges that we have been grappling with for so many decades. And because this project was shovel ready, because Governor Polis, perhaps because he represented this area for a decade before I came into the Congress and knew full well the challenges that we were experiencing, because he made it a priority and Shoshana Liu made it a priority and the state legislature made it a priority, today we will be engaged in a groundbreaking that will reshape this corridor, which really is a gateway to so much of what makes Colorado, Colorado. So I couldn't be more excited, as no doubt you can tell, and couldn't be more optimistic about our ability to get this done on the timetable that I know, the ambitious timetable that the governor and CDOT and the project managers have set out. So without further ado, I think I'm going to hand it over to someone who I think truly is the best executive director of a transportation department in the United States of America. Governor Polis showed great wisdom in bringing her on board, and she's done a heck of a job these last 4 years. Shoshana Liu. Woo.
Thank you to everyone for being here. It's such an exciting day, and not a coincidence that many of us have gathered at this project many times before to make the case for why we needed to get to the day that we're at today. Today is a celebratory day for CDOT and our partners in the state as we break ground on a project that is significant, not just for us, but nationally, which is why it won the grant that we won, which is specifically for projects of national significance. We owe a great deal of thanks to our incredible delegation and the governor being champions for this project, bringing Secretary Buttigieg out here to show him exactly where we get stuck in traffic every time we go and come back from the Denver metro area, and to really make it a priority for the country and our national system of infrastructure. I-70 plays such a critical role in the quality of life and economic vitality of the state, and the improvements along the stretch have been needed for a very, very long time. You've heard a lot about the many partners who've been involved, and there's more than we can name and more than are here today, and that's been a structured effort for a long time. The I-70 collaborative effort that was really the way that the environmental review for this project and the others along the corridor was done early on kind of set a new paradigm for how we do reviews of these projects and for how we bring partners together to agree on how to do hard things. And it's no accident that we were able to get this project shovel ready, with a lot less drama than you sometimes see on big projects. And that's because of this structure where folks like Steve Harrelson, who have been plugging away at this effort for decades, showed a new way of doing project reviews that I think has become the baseline for a lot of the good work that we do with communities today. I think everyone who's here probably knows why we need improvements at this spot. We see significant drops in speed during peak congestion periods along this area, better known as that first spot where you get stuck in traffic. And it can really be dangerous as well as inconvenient for people traveling in both directions. There are a lot of contributing factors, that are not just population growth, but that are certainly exacerbated by our growing population. The current geometry of Floyd Hill includes steep grades, tight curves, which slow traffic down and create massive backups. Weather events and wildlife can slow traffic down and cause hazardous conditions. But again, through that collaborative process between members of CDOT, the Federal Highway Administration, the project leadership team, key local leaders in the region and others, and we're moving forward with meaningful improvements that are very, very sophisticated in the way that they're going to be developed. The project will improve trip time reliability, safety, and mobility, and will address deficient infrastructure within the project limits. You don't realize that you're driving on a bridge for a lot of the stretch, but many of those bridge deck areas that we talk about that are hitting old age are on this stretch of I-70. The project will add a third westbound travel lane to the 2-lane section of I-70 that creates that bottleneck that you probably know all too well, construct a new frontage road between the US 6 interchange and the Hidden Valley Central City interchange, improve interchanges and intersections throughout the project area, and remove structurally deficient bridges that are at the end of their service life. We'll improve the Greenway Trail. You can see many of those folks enjoying the Greenway Trail have been watching this event throughout. It's nice to see. Reduce animal vehicle collisions and improve wildlife connectivity, a huge priority under the governor's administration for several agencies. We'll provide 2 permanent air quality monitors at Floyd Hill and Idaho Springs to collect data and help make sure that we're protecting the quality of the air that we breathe in this beautiful place. We'll coordinate with rural broadband access to make sure that we're thinking about all of the ways that people connect in this area. And really, this project puts environmental benefits at the forefront and has been incredibly thoughtful in bringing together an unusual range of experts for a big highway project. We've had the rafting community involved, fish and wildlife, geologists, with a whole range of expertise that are helping us think about how you protect the surrounding area, enjoy it, and also make sure that traffic throughput can move efficiently. One specific challenge of this project is that throughout much of the alignment, the footprint is physically limited by being sandwiched between Rockwall and River. So to save money and also limit environmental impact, the design team has adapted the plans for the project so that at every point we're sort of optimizing the space between those 2 sets of geological features in the most efficient and economical and environmentally friendly way possible. And you can see some of the mock-ups that the team has worked on right there. Wetland areas will be restored. We'll enhance the greenway experience. We'll enhance transportation options, and you can see, as the governor mentioned, our new Pegasus service that's been getting great pickup over the summer. And really make sure that we're thinking about all of these ways that people connect and all of the reasons why people connect in this mountain corridor. In addition to that, we have to think about resiliency with this project. We all saw what happens when this goes wrong, right? And many of us have had to deal with the consequences of the Grizzly Creek fires and the others on infrastructure. So we've really thought about the vulnerabilities and how to kind of build in as much resiliency as we possibly can into the design of this project. And a big kudos to all the experts who have worked on that, kind of taking in the good, the bad, and the ugly of what we've learned about what the impacts of climate change can do. As you've heard, the community has been very involved, and we've talked about that a lot already, and you'll hear from some of our key leaders on the I-70 Coalition. And really just grateful to have everyone here today to celebrate the first of what will be many more big days to come on this project. So with that, I think I am turning it over to Margaret Bose, who is the head of the I-70 Coalition and a tremendous leader in this corridor.
Thank you, Director Liu. So as has been mentioned, this project is far more than just a third travel lane down the Floyd Hill. It includes redesigned interchanges, completes a frontage road, multiple wildlife crossings. It supports the Pegasus transit service that we're so excited about on the corridor, and then also integrates with that Clear Creek Greenway. I want to just talk briefly about process, some of the kind of behind the scenes work that has gone into this project. So the planning did begin several years ago with early design and environmental review. And despite breaking ground today on some of these early projects, final design work is very much still in the works for many of the major project elements. And throughout every one of these planning phases and into the future, there has been very broad stakeholder engagement, and Director Liu alluded to that. So CDOT and Federal Highways, they don't design I-70 projects in a bubble. They have really committed to take a broader lens when they look at projects and really consider how any improvement is going to impact things like the community, recreation, the environment, our historic resources, and then they also keep an eye on aesthetic guidelines, so we can be sure that any project that gets designed is going to honor the natural beauty that we have in spades on this mountain corridor. I want to mention some of the stakeholders that have contributed countless hours over several years to this process. They include local governments, environmental interests, the U.S. Forest Service, Division of Wildlife, business interests like the casinos and the rafting industry, emergency responders, and the list goes on. Also, subject matter experts have been involved throughout to take a really close look at things like wetlands, water quality, and wildlife impacts. So I believe CDOT and Federal Highway Administration really should be commended to the commitment that they've made to consider input, gather input from a very diverse group of interests. And I know those agencies and all the stakeholders that have been involved would agree that it takes a lot more time and commitment at the front end, but we really do end up with a better end product. So this Floyd Hill project has been is the top priority project for the I-70 Coalition, so we're thrilled to be here today breaking ground on the project. I think it's a project we're all going to be really proud of. It's going to serve Coloradans well many decades into the future. And I just want to wrap up by thanking everyone up here for the great leadership in bringing legislation, grants, and funding that can get this project done. So thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Randy Wheelock, Clear Creek County Commissioner and also Vice Chair of the I-70 Coalition.
First of all, I'd like to apologize. Today I thought it was going to be a little cooler up here, and the more time you have to spend on hair product, the less time you have to find the right shirt. So I'm here without a collar, but in any case, I'm here and I made it. I think everyone here has already talked about some of the technical aspects of the project itself and the process. So I want to be very brief and just say that on Clear Creek County's part, and I think also on behalf of the entire corridor, I can speak as a member of both the I-70 Coalition and the I-70 Collaborative effort for several years, that we really appreciate the partnership with the lead agencies and with each other for everything we've done to, I think, set a model for collaboration. And the difference between collaboration and learning from each other and being humble enough to learn from each other and improve each other's work product. And as a result, we are able to have this project nearing completion today. And I'm pleased to hear from people like Steve Harrelson and others that have taught me that, that by working together and understanding each other's challenges and what we face, we can help each other come up with better solutions. We can learn what the better solutions can be for Clear Creek County that we never thought of and what the real limitations are. And CDOT can learn from us some pieces that they can do to make our communities be more whole and better. And that's because we've learned to listen to each other. I really appreciate everybody in the lineup right here. The senators have worked hard, and Congressman Goose have worked hard to make sure that we had the funding for this project. Ms. Cutter has worked on things like Senate Bill 180 that have brought the money to add more money into Mustang and Pegasus to try to revolutionize the way we travel versus what we travel on. And I also want to give a lot of credit to our own staff at Clear Creek County. I think one of the talking points, sorry I didn't have my talking points with me, my grandson, who I'll come back to in a second, was using the printer, and the printer wouldn't work this morning, so I just decided to come in and wing it. So I'm just going to talk until Kurt grabs a shovel and hits me. One of the talking points that I recall when I read the email was that I was supposed to talk about what it was like and the importance of my being able to be on the PLT. I was not actually on the PLT or the tech teams. And the reason is because over 20 years we've learned to work together so well and we trust each other so well that we're all looking out for the best things and the best outcomes, that I'm fine that our staff has been attending our tech team and PLT meetings for us. Amy Saxton here, who's our transportation liaison, and 100 other things. Cindy Neely in the back, who's been working on the I-70 corridor for somewhere around 40 or 50 years, I'm not sure. And I have to take credit that I actually worked on this highway over 50 years ago and worked on the Eisenhower Tunnel myself. And so the change that we've seen through that time and how we work and how we build and how we think about transportation has been enormous. I'd like to just close with one other thought, though, which is that this is one of the largest and best. It's the second to the last largest, hugest piece of the minimum program that we have to go. There's another piece that comes after this, but what's most important, though, is that we think about the future and not just our accomplishments to date. And to that end, I'd like to resurrect just a few pieces of something I said a few years ago when we kicked off the westbound peak period shoulder lane, which is we have to think about the future, too. Coming back to my grandson, I'd like to speak on his behalf and perhaps eventually maybe his grandson's behalf. What we're doing here today is the best possible solution that we can come up with to perfect 19th century technology. What we still have for the most part, we do have more electric cars on the road, and some of those electric cars, some of that power is coming from renewable sources. But we still are dealing for the most part with individual vehicles and people in those vehicles, and we're dealing for the most part with pistons slapping around inside steel engines to drive 4 rubber tires over asphalt, the same way my grandfather took hay to the barn over 100 years ago. And so we really have to rethink our behavior, we have to rethink our engineering, we have to rethink our systems, we have to rethink transit systems, how we travel, why we travel, when we travel. But it's not just for people in Washington or people in oil companies or other energy companies to figure out for us. We like to blame other people for climate change. We have to look at ourselves and understand that they sell us what we buy. So we have to think, we have to pressure people to have innovative ideas, and we have to change to 22nd century technology so that we can deliver our own grandchildren's grandchildren to the 22nd century on a habitable planet with the same fervor and technological innovation that we use and are trying to use to send man to Mars. If we can do that, surely we can deliver our own descendants to a habitable planet that we're already standing on. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Relock. Well, thank you for joining us today, and thank you to our speakers and for the roles that you have played in helping us get to this Money Minutes occasion. We would also like to send a big thank you to everyone here today. Most of you have had a major contribution to getting the project where it is today. We would also like to thank the people of Colorado for your patience as we move ahead on these projects. Next, we will briefly open the floor for any questions from the media.
Sorry, a little louder.
Too much traffic.
There you go. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Commissioner Wheelock stated, do you have any concerns about 30 years from now looking at this project and thinking it would not end up being good for the climate?
That it was what?
That it will not end up being a good thing for the climate.
This is a good project for people to get where they want to go. The electric vehicle transition is occurring rapidly. Last quarter, about 13% of vehicles sold in Colorado were electric. We're also providing transit options like our beautiful Pegasus there departing Union Station for the high country on a regular basis. But whether you drive an electric car or whether it's a bus or whether you drive a car with an internal combustion engine, you need a road to get where you want to go. And until there is a successful engineering and economics case for the high-speed rail that I think is inevitable in this corridor, people are going to be getting to where they go with vehicles.
And I know Shoshana has worked on this. Ultimately, we're going to always want mobility. That's an essential part of the modern life. And when you improve something like this, whether it's electric vehicles or then the next step, electric autonomous vehicles, and then maybe there are larger vehicles that have 2 or 3 people per car and they drop you off at a different point along, you hop into another vehicle. Those are all evolutions that we're not there yet, but you can't stop. You've got to design. What these guys have done is design a component to make our lives more efficient and easier and less stressful and safer and faster now, but at the same time creating lots of opportunity for what that future is going to look like. And trust me, there are a lot of people trying to think through what that looks like.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Yeah, and the question was about the $700 million budget, and that budget does include all of the early projects as well as the main project, and that is all in. That includes design and construction. Other questions? All right. Well, thank you for your questions. We now ask that everyone join us for pictures of our ceremonial groundbreaking.
Let's do it.
That's where all the senators
All these years later. Yeah, good. Everybody get ready. Well, we got one. This is the important part. We have one. Doing the work. Congratulations. Joe, congratulations. We should have a picture where we're all holding photos on the shovel. What do you want to do? You're holding shovels. Here we go. Shoshana holding shovels.